This is my third and final video that I'm going to make today, so I promise next time you see me in a video I'll have on a different shirt. It won't be all done with the same shirt on. This lesson is on area of trapezoids, so go ahead and get your notes page set up. Fill in your learning target, both the standard and its description, and then our I can statement. I can calculate the area of a trapezoid or find one of its missing measurements. Now the formula for the area of a trapezoid is a little different from what we've been working on, and that's partly because trapezoids are a little bit different. They're kind of the oddball in the shape family. With our rectangles or our parallelograms, you notice how the top and bottom sides were both the same length, the left and right sides. There's always a matching partner to go with everything. So if you knew one measurement, you knew the opposite measurement in your shape. Trapezoids, not so much. The definition of a trapezoid is a shape that has one pair of parallel sides. In this case, that's my top and my bottom, my bases. But notice they have different lengths. They're not the same length that the opposite sides are in a parallelogram. So we don't have just one base, we have two. We call it base 1 and base 2. We kind of use that lower down number to kind of describe each one of them. It's called a subscript. The height of a trapezoid, you're going to look the same place as you did for triangles and parallelograms. Your height is at that right angle to the base. It's the distance between the two bases. So again, you're still going to look for that right angle symbol, but it's going to go directly from one base to the other. It's not going to be this slanted edge of your trapezoid. We have our definition written out already for us. It says it equals 1/2 the product, meaning multiply, of the height and the sum means to add, the bases. So our equation's a little bit more involved, but you handle it the same way. We take our height times the sum of our bases. So we want to make sure we do the addition part first, so we put it in parentheses. Then we're going to divide by 2, or we're going to multiply times 1/2, however you like to write it. So sometimes we'll write it out as height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. I didn't mean base I meant base 1 there. Sorry about that. But all we're going to do is plug in our measurements and get our answer. But first, let's take a little detour and figure out why in the world are we adding together those two bases, and then why do we have to divide it by 2? So this part you don't need to write in your notes, just kind of follow along. Say we had two different trapezoids, both the same size, except this one on the right has just been flipped upside down. The 6 went from the bottom to the top, and the 4 went to the bottom. But watch what happens if I combine those two pieces together. I've now made one giant parallelogram. I know how to find the area of a parallelogram. It's just base times height. Well, the base is now equal. They're both 10. I have to add together those two pieces. So 6 plus 4 gives me a total length of 10. Then I could put in my height. Maybe my height is 5 centimeters. And we said our base, really bad line there, is now 10 centimeters because I'm adding together those two bases. So I could use that to find the area of my parallelogram. But the problem is that parallelogram was 2 of my trapezoids. I just want to know the area of one of my trapezoids. So I really just want to know what's the area of just this one. Well, if we could calculate the area of the whole thing, well, I would have to divide by 2 to find the area of just one of them. But notice what we did. In order to find the length of this bottom edge of my parallelogram, I had to add my two bases together. Then I multiplied times my height. But because I just wanted one of the trapezoids, not both of them put together, I had to divide by 2 when I was finished. That's where our formula came from. So let's try putting it to use. We're going to do a couple together, and then you're going to try a couple. But start with your formula. The base, getting ahead of myself here. My height times the sum of my two bases. I don't know why I keep making it I instead of 1. And then I'm going to divide by 2 when I'm all done. So plug in what I know. Base 1 plus base 2. So 6 plus 3 multiply times my height. Remember, my height is that measurement that's at a right angle to my two bases. So that's times 4. And then I'm going to divide by 2. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. And then I divide by 2. 36 divided by 2 is 18. So my area is 18. But remember, don't forget your units. Don't leave it as a naked number. It's dealing in centimeters, so it's going to be 18 centimeters squared. So it looks like a complicated equation, but it's really not. All you're going to do is plug in your numbers and do the math. So let's try this next one. Find the area of this one here. So height, so area is equal to height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. I promise I'll quit trying to make it into an I. So plug in our numbers. Our height is our 5. My bases, 14 and 7. So 14 plus 7. The bases are always the two sides opposite each other. They're parallel to each other. And then we divide by 2. 14 plus 7 is 21. 21 times 5 is 105. Sorry about that. Not sure why I'm making so many mistakes here. 105 divided by 2. Well, 105 divided by 2, I might have to do a quick little division problem. 105 divided by 2. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Bring down my 5. 2 goes into 5 2 times, which gives me 4. I'm still left with 1. So I got to add my decimal and my 0 so I can keep dividing. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and now I'm finally done. So I get an area of 52.5. I'm dealing in inches, so inches squared. Make sure you're showing all of your work and how you plugged in the numbers, how you worked through the problem, how you got your area, included your units. So let's try one more together. So always start with your formula. Height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. My height is that vertical distance between my bases, so 0.8. My bases are my two parallel sides, so 0.4 plus 0.9. And then when I'm all done, I'm going to divide by 2. So I do my math. 0.4 plus 0.9 is 1.3 times 0.8, and then I'm going to divide by 2 when I'm all done. So 1.3 times 0.8, going to be 4, carry the 2, 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10, 2 decimal points in the problem, so I've got 2 decimal places in my answer. So I get 1.04 divided by 2. So think of it kind of like 104 divided by 2. We just want to leave in our decimal. 104 divided by 2 gives me 52. And then I put back in my decimal. Again, if you needed to, you could easily do a division problem off to the side. But 1.04 divided by 2 is 0.52. We're dealing with meters, so it's meters squared. So I'm going to have you go to this page, and now you're going to try 2 of them on your own. These 2 you're going to do on your own. Plug in your numbers, fill in your formula, then go ahead and do the math. Be careful on our second one over here. Remember, you want your bases. Those are the two sides that are parallel to each other. So that's going to be your 4 and your 9. And then your height. Always look for that right angle symbol. So think about which one of those is going to be your height. Hopefully you make the right decision. When you're done, go ahead and hit play, go on to the next couple problems, and we'll finish this one up. We'll go over these 2 together in class tomorrow. All right, last one. Going backwards, finding that missing measurement. Now, a trapezoid, the equation's a little bit more complicated, so it's going to take a little bit more work to work backwards, but we can handle it. The key is, know what information you're given. So it tells me the area is 150 square meters. So I know my area is 150 meters squared. My bases are 14 meters and 16 meters. So I'm going to put those into my drawing just because it helps me visualize what's going on. What I don't know is this height. That's what I'm solving for. So remember, our key is start with the formula. So my area is equal to the height times my two bases added together divided by 2. So plug in what we know. I know the area is 150. I don't know my height. My bases are 14 and 16. And then I'm going to divide by 2. So again, just like with parallelograms and triangles, do as much of the math as you can. 14 plus 16 is 30. Divided by 2 is 15. So now I get an equation. 150 is equal to h times 15, my height times 15. Well, I want to find h, so I solve my equation. They multiplied by 15, so I'm going to divide by 15. Oh, h is equal to 150 divided by 15 is 10. So my height is 10 meters. Plug in the information you know, work through the problem, do as much of the math as you're able to do, and then the last step is solve it like an equation. They multiplied times 15 times h, so I'm going to divide both sides by 15 to find that missing number.